We were brought with a purpose. We will leave. Fine, whatever. The sooner we get out of the way, the sooner we can be left in peace. Even yelling, he was still taller than me. He stared at me with unwavering adoration, polishing the floor behind him with the unceasing tail wagging. Gunner handed me Fenrir's leash and instructed the other dog to keep his head low. Then he explained the steps of creating a gas. Even when I brought the magic rope close to his neck, the Rottweiler didn't seem to mind at all. Just like Gunner promised, he was eager. Aren't you scared? Focus, Your Majesty. Scared? Why would I be? I'm going to put a spell on you. Yes, you're going to set me free. I've waited my entire life for this. I always knew this day would come, my true destiny. And now here it is. I can finally awaken as a true me. The new reincarnation of Moon I always knew I was. What? They told you were Moon? Yes, and that the gas will finally awaken me. I'm ready. I was literally born yesterday. Wait a minute. I'm ready. I was literally born ready. I took the magic relic away from him. I couldn't even look Gunner in the eyes, only felt discomfort from his mind, like he was caught red-handed on a crime. The discomfort was mutual. I'm deeply sorry. There was a mistake. You are not Moon. What? We already found Moon. His name date is to be publicly announced soon. Sadly, it wasn't you. It was a Siberian Husky. His mind was blank. He slowly turned his head towards me. I didn't know what to expect from him. His mind was too soft, too broken to read. He was in utter disbelief, and he impotently shook his head in denial. His lips trembled in silent no, no. And while his mind was fighting hard to reject the truth, I felt the grief swelling inside him. Your Majesty, no. Despite Gunner's objections, I put my hand on the Rottweiler's head. I petted and hushed him down, and while it seemed to bring him no comfort, at least it seemed to slowly mend the divide between his mind and heart. His big tears started flowing over the dark brown fur of his trembling cheeks. I always hoped I was meant for more. Dude, that bastard, he took my place. And after he died, I was so sure I would finally be able to awaken his place. But that's not how it works with Moon's heart. No. I knew it. Deep down, I always knew. But if I'm not Moon, then who am I? If this is really all I am, a dog without a destiny like any other of them, then what does my life even matter? I don't know. How about you tell me once you figure it out? And by that time, I hope I will finally be able to tell you who I am as well. He looked at me in the eyes, and finally I felt a clear and stable emotion in his mind. Curiosity, familiarity, understanding, unity. Still with his face wet in tears, he started to laugh. I laughed too, still holding the red magic ropes in my hands. Hello. He complied with a smile as I put my hand over his head once again. The leash in my other hand glowed as I took a deep breath and gathered my thoughts. In the name of the pack, I bless you, O hero. The breath of serenity to accept the things you cannot change, the howl of courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to tell the two apart. Once the glow subsided, the Rottweiler stood up and stared at me with still hazy eyes. The relic power blessing must have taken hold. You aren't needed anymore. Dismissed. Gunner. No, it's fine. We both have a lot of work to do, right? Despite Gunnar's protest and pointing the tip of his sword at the dog's neck, the Rottweiler hero suddenly took me in his embrace and squeezed into his giant, muscular pecs, saying, "Blesses you, my king." He ultimately let go of me once Gunnar pricked him harder, and then, after an exaggerated bow, the Rottweiler finally left the room. Gunnar quickly wiped the smears of blood from the tip of his sword before seething it back and staring at the still open door. Both dogs were waiting outside. "I do not know exactly what your majesty did, but it seems at least it's responding to you at least. Good. Still, we need to make sure you have proper mastery over the creation of the chaos. Let us focus on that from now on. I'll bring another subject. Pray avoid distracting conversations. Because you told all of them that this is some kind of new awakening ritual. Guards, close the door." Gunnar furrowed his brows while the guard dogs followed my order and locked the entrance. We stared at each other in uncomfortable silence. "You lied to them and harnessed Mr. Rex into bring them here peacefully. Yes. Is that proper, your majesty? You should have told them the truth. There was no need. After this is over, you will never have to control them with the chaos in the future anyway. They still should know I'll be chaining their will with magic, for nothing will return. You gave them hope for something that doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. We aren't hurting them. We need you to master your power one way or another. How much are you still lying to me about, your majesty? The dogs out there don't need to know everything because they are small and insignificant. I get told only as much as necessary because I'm still young and inexperienced. That's it, isn't it? No, that's not the same. Yes, not. After all, in my case, the main reason you keep me blind is because of the observer. Please do not speak that name here. Or what? What if I want to go out there and let everyone know? Then I will have to silence you. What I did was apologize to your majesty, and I came out gravely wrong and improper. That time in the elevator, you said, whatever I may do or say down there, you are my master above all else. That was a big, fat lie. Now, listen. In anger, I turned around and threw the finger's lace at the wall behind me. It bounced off my portrait and fell right into one of the vases full of freshly cut thorny red roses. Gunnar immediately rushed to save the magic rope, but it got both wet and tangled in the thorns. Growling and cursing under his breath, he struggled to take them apart without pulling at loose threads. His hands were obviously not used to delicate work, or to gentleness in general. I don't need to listen to anything you say. You are a liar. I trusted you. You were easily among my top 5 favorite servants. You taught me so much. You cared for me. And now I find out none of that was real. It was real. How? You cannot serve 2 masters. We don't really care about our kingdom, our people, or me. We are nothing but a observer's lapdog. What is it that he promised you? What did he show you? Tell me. The same he showed you. The end of the fucking world. What? The end? Wait, he didn't show you that? No? Oh. Fuck. Then, what did he show you exactly? Me, failing as a ruler. Oh, of course. Of course. No, that's not what I meant. No, it's all clear. I may be young, but I learn fast. I understand. He wants to keep me weak so he can rule through me and you. Now I see that every time you were nice to me, it wasn't because you cared about me. Yet everyone else in the castle calling me so I wouldn't have a chance to grow a spine. And after what happened down there, Gunner, I'm starting to believe you. I cannot see myself ever growing strong enough for the responsibilities of the throne. If you hope to defeat my spirit by introducing me to the observer, then you succeeded. But even though he sold me the happy future that I believe he can make true, the thought of being trapped here my whole life amongst liars just to do the biddings of another master hiding in the shadows, that sounds like such a sad life. Gunnar stood by the roses, staring at the magic rope in his hands. It was slightly damaged as he ripped it off the thorns with his outburst earlier. I saw a long, loose thread still hanging over the flower, separated from the main leaf of the relic. Gunnar was too deep in thought to pay that detail any mind. We may all be a part of the observer's design, yes. But you have to understand, he is not a god, not a warrior, not a king. Not my king. He approached me slowly, saluted with full respect, and then kneeled in front of me. He offered the finger of his leaves, lowering his head and exposing the back of his neck. He may see our destiny, but that doesn't make us any less of who we are, of who we have always been. Me, be your warrior, and you, be my master. As I took the wealth off his hands, I felt his mind opening to me in a manner of absolute submission. He still kept his head low, waiting. I don't understand. Are you sure? You are my last connections to a pure part of my life. I have trusted people. I dedicated myself to their causes, their dreams. I changed for them. Only to have that trust broken and be left with less of myself each time. I may not see it now, my king, but there's undeniable strength in your purity. And if I lose that, if I lose your trust, then I lose the last remaining part of my true self with it. So, I put the gas on him, and he found solace in that. I guess some canines feel security by having a master over them. Regardless of his affiliation with the observer, Gunnar was still loyal to me in his twisted, unclear way. I knew it had to be related to the moon in some way, but I didn't know how to approach him about it. Not that I had much of an opportunity to do that, as he left for another battle at the border the very next day, postponing Moon's name day until his return. Yes, some canines may feel secure and content or at least. But not me. I wasn't happy at all. I felt trapped, oppressed, and hopeless. The worst thing was, I couldn't talk to anyone about the observer. Gunnar made it clear that he wasn't the only one in the know, and for my own good, he begged me to behave. It felt worse than a prison, a convict that at least knows his situation clearly. I, on the other hand, had to live in the facade of happiness, never certain who could be observing or judging me. Even though I was confident about my canine empathy, the fact that everyone's minds felt as open and honest as ever only fed my paranoia. There was a certain security in having to see your horror face to face. I was denied even that. Bennett said I would get used to that in time, and eventually I would find peace. Judging by the observer's final vision, I know that could eventually come true, but I wasn't ready to submit just yet. After all, there was one thing that gave me a hope of control. Two, actually. After Gunnar finished training me and using feverish leads, he took the relic away, but a single thread of it was still left tangled amongst the thorn roses in my room.
And holy crap, it did. You're gonna love that part. I was so bloody smart. Do you want to hear it now? I can already tell you if you... It's okay. Just keep telling your story. Why? A proper build-up is key. Uh-huh. Just remember the string, because it's gonna be important. We promise we will. Okay, just don't forget. The string on my wrist, full of magic. Yes, Alon? So the thread was one thing, but that alone wouldn't be enough to give me any real hope, would it? After all, that relic was a part of Observer's predictions too. He could see futures. He could learn what kind of person I would turn out to be and what actions I would be inclined to take long before I make those decisions myself. I imagine I could just live my whole life following his path while barely even realizing it, only nudge in his favored directions from time to time in ways I would barely notice. I hope that wouldn't work the same way if I introduced enough chaos into my behavior that neither he nor I could have any control over. And I had exactly such a thing. The coin, taken away from his predicted past by the powerful blaze. I didn't know what a blaze was exactly at the time, but he said multiple times that actions fueled by it are one of the very few things that elude his foresight. He didn't expect me to bite his hand because that was one of those cases, so when he dropped the coin, it ended up falling on a different side than he predicted. To me, that coin was like the opposite of a compass. It held the potential to stray me away from a clear destination. So through so so through the weeks leading to Moon's name day, I let the coin decide on many of my dilemmas. Whenever I had a thought about asking a weird question or doing something risky, I tossed the coin. Sometimes it kept me from doing things, but other times it pushed me towards saying or doing something I normally never would. That way, I learned more about the capital and the people of the castle, as well as the existence of secret passages within the walls. Sadly, I didn't find one within my own room. But at least I noticed a discreet shortcut between one of the top floor dining hall preparation rooms and the kitchen storage room, a floor below, fit for smallest dog breeds. The coin decided for me to use that shortcut a couple of times to snatch those honey nuts cookies from the kitchen, and I succeeded flawlessly the first time, but the cook caught me on the second try. Another thing I tried to do was attempted to run away multiple times, always trying to be sneaky about it. I would order trips outside and purposely get lost. But with squads of guard dogs and hounds dedicated to my protection, I had no chance to truly disappear before I was found and returned to safety. I was truly trapped and didn't know what to do. And worst of all, time was ticking. The date of Moon's name day was approaching, and with that, the promised reunion with the Observer. Soon after Moon's name day, he said, but I didn't know when exactly or for what purpose. I had a seriously bad feeling about that. He said he needed to rest before looking into the future again. How long would that take? Was he already back in control or not? All those unknowns drove me crazy. But with the little I had, I devised the most elaborate escape plan I could think of. I braced myself to gamble everything on the day of your name day, Husky. I'll be honest with you. I didn't care that much about you, knowing how you hunted me down in my previous incarnations, and apparently were out to get me. Whatever I did. So I didn't mind putting a gas on you and using you as a distraction to slip away. The Observer expected that. I could at least use that to my knowledge, or to my advantage. But I thought you didn't put it on him in the end. Well, no. I knew Gunnar would get mad at him for his chance of name, the moon rhyme gimmick that reminded him of doom. And while even I was taken aback by how angry he got, any sympathy I could have felt for Moon was clouded by the fear of what I was told you would become and what you would do to me. A fear I knew the observer deliberately planted in me. So in the end, I did what I had been doing through all those past weeks, looked at the coin with a question. Should I do it? The coin, and told me I should. So I grabbed the leaves and proceeded to put the gas on you. And then I guess I simply changed my mind. I couldn't do that to you. Even though I knew that disobeying the coin's blind luck and following my gut instinct would probably align with the observer's visions, I just couldn't go through with it. Even with those fears and preconceptions, I couldn't ignore the sympathy I felt for you. You were just an innocent child. It felt wrong to judge you for future sins. After all, I myself still wasn't done fighting tooth and nail against my fate of becoming a trapped weakling. What would it say about my own efforts if I were to deny you the same chance to better yourself? Didn't all of us deserve freedom? I know that doesn't sound like the cold and badass me you got to know me as the past few months, but at that point, I was still soft. And I'm kinda glad I was. But I still needed you to serve your purpose. Fortunately, even without the chaos, you played along and helped me create enough chaos to help me sneak out of the balcony. With Fenrir's leads still in my possession. Using the few shortcuts I knew, I hurried outside as quickly as I could in one of those dark corridors. I disposed of my robes and wore a servant's coat. I used new perfumes to conceal my usual scent. Going past the guards was still an issue, but I planned to use the Fenrir's leads in my possession. Thanks to experimenting with the long string I wore on my wrist the previous few weeks, I learned that even without a chaos, the weather could influence people's focus in very gentle ways. Even just with a little part of these, I would make people blink or look to the side when I wanted without them realizing. Not really an order, but more of a suggestion to susceptible minds. With a full real relic in my hand, I could do that much. Bear could the guards to let me through or send them away, help at the most in the plaza. With each use of that power, my connection to it grew firmer. At one point, I could even physically nudge a person's limb towards opening the door or walking away if they were unconvinced. I could almost see web threads connecting me to other people's spirits, an empathetic web I could influence with the flow of my thought. Once I finally left the castle and walked down the streets, I pushed the pedestrians' focus away from me. When someone almost recognized me as the king, I distracted their mind. As my connection with the relic grew stronger, my mind got tired. Eventually, I needed to rest. Far away from the castle, but still in the city, in a district I'd never visited before, I went into a dark alley and sat down, panting from exhaustion. At that time, while I was catching my breath, a dirty, starving-looking dog approached me with a knife and demanded money. I didn't have any on me. After all, I always got everything handed to me. The fact I would need money to live outside somehow eluded me. So the dog demanded my magic rope instead. It sparkled, so he assumed it had to be valuable. I tried to use the lease's power to change his mind and make him walk away, but it didn't work. His mind was set. He was hungry, and there was no reasonable way he would give up just like that. I feared for my life when he grabbed me in the throat, and in self-defense I poured all the magic I had in me to make him stop. I feared for my life when he grabbed me in the throat, and in self-defense I poured all the magic I had in me to make him stop. That was manifested in having him tightly bound head to toe, in a series of thin, half-transparent, glowing threads. He fell to the wet cobblestone floor, unable to even shout with his muzzled That was manifested in having him tightly bound head to toe in a series of thin, half-transparent, glowing threads. He fell to the wet cobblestone floor, unable to even shout, with his muzzle knotted. I kept running away, too scared to stop again. I felt threatened by both in the I felt threatened both in the crowds and in solitude. I need to go outside of the city, only then I'd be safe, I thought. Eventually I stumbled my way to the very outskirts of the royal capital city. I passed a bunch of carriages. Some were pulled by working breed dogs, contractors, while a few fancier ones even had slave horses. I took a I took a moment to rest, looking around me. The city was left behind me, while the wide open road was still lying bare ahead of me. I was at the crossroads between comfort and freedom. All I had to do was to brace myself, board one of those carriages, and don't look back. Wallace saw me looking at him, an impressively tall chestnut stallion with emblem collar on some of the smaller horses I didn't recognize. His fur was smooth and shiny, and even though he was definitely on the thin side, he seemed to be well taken care of. He was taking a meal break or a small bag of grain of some sort. He smiled when he caught my stare, when he offered some grain on his open palm. I approached him carefully. And the moment I got within his arm's reach, he grabbed at my wrist and pulled me off the ground, letting out a shout of triumph. "Look what I got! A cute white puppy," he laughed with his other ungulate companions, joking about asking their master to put a collar on me too. His breath was moist as stank of fermented grain. I heard the master's frustrated hissing from the side before he cracked his whip at the horse's neck, making the big barbarian let go of me. Yet even as I fell in the dirt and the saurian noble reprimanded him, the shit-eating grin didn't leave his terrifying long snout. I scrambled back up and ran away, without even giving the master time to apologize. I needed to get away from all those uncanny, non-canine minds and their strong smells, away from that one horse. Everything was new and terrifying. I needed a safe space, anywhere I could rest even for a short time. At tavern there were multiple of them there on the outskirts. I ran to the least crowded one, only to remember that I still had no money. In the end, I resorted to using the leads to convince the tavern owner that I had already paid. It was extremely awkward, but I didn't care anymore as long as it worked. As soon as I got into my room, I lay down in a dirty bed and gasped for air, both out of exhaustion and panic. I tried to calm myself down and try to get some rest, but I couldn't fall asleep. It wasn't just that it was still in the middle of the day. Even though both my mind and body were tired, my thoughts were racing. My heart pounded without slowing down. I was alone in an unknown world right outside the royal city, but I still wasn't free. And even then, once I finally left, what was I supposed to do then? How would I survive? I realized with dread that I didn't have any plan beyond the escape the Crimson Royal Grove. I was all on my own. I didn't know how the world worked. Everything was an unknown. Everyone was a threat. The world outside my familiar comfort. I didn't know what to do next. I didn't even know how to get my next meal. I knocked on the door. Speak of the cat, I thought. I still wasn't in the mood for lunch. Out of habit, I answered I would eat later. But, Your Majesty. I covered my mouth and held my breath as I carefully looked outside the window. A squad of guards was already waiting outside. "I'm coming in." He held my beautiful royal robe in his hands. I sat down on the floor, all story leaving my body. I didn't even look at him. I just felt defeated and blank. A part of me was glad that I was found. Maybe I was even hoping for that. I was so deeply ashamed of that part of myself. I was made of weakness. How did you find me? That's not important. The important thing is that Moon is safe. What you did out there, that was beyond reckless. I did everything as best as I could, and still, where did I make a mistake? I really do not think we have to discuss that. It was an observer, wasn't it? He told you where I was. Your Majesty, I didn't need his help. Half of the city saw you. I knew he didn't intend to be mean to me, but that one sentence completely crushed any remains of self-esteem I had. Any hope cut down with those words. The relic, please. Please, let me go. Tell them that it wasn't me, that I'm not here. You know I cannot do that. I'm your master. Listen to me. Then, order me. I looked up at him, the sternness in his eyes. It made me put my head back down again, as I quietly gave him the finger's lease. So, you didn't manage to run away in the end? Nope. Oh. Is that the end? No. Of course that's not the end. I'm here, right? But at that time, I had no hope left in me to even dream anything would ever change. No strength in me to continue the struggle. I came back to the castle with Gunner. My servants cleaned me up, and the scouts prepared herbal mixtures to help me rest. Once I woke up from my nap, it felt like the whole escape was just a weird fever dream. Because of course it was, I saw how it was outside. Hunger, crime, cruelty, and a world of senseless struggle. Why would anyone want to escape the kind of blessed life I was given? Why, indeed? I looked at the cover of New Moon's book, resting on the shelf in my room. I took it in my hands and opened at the camping illustration. I kept staring at it absent-mindedly as the sun outside drew closer to the horizon. There was a big evening feast in the castle in Moon celebration. Both of us attended it, but Gunnar made sure we wouldn't have a chance to interact. Even during the feast, I kept the book close to my chest. I wouldn't give it to any of my servants or even the General Gunner. I wouldn't touch the food. It was a bizarre time. Despite the joy and laughter in the room, I felt completely disconnected from everyone. Some people seemed concerned they couldn't feel me with their empathy. Yes, it was like I wasn't even there. My thoughts devolved into an unstable mass, still coming to terms with my failure and a kind of future that awaited me. A kind one. Easy. A safe future, a kind one, easy, certain. Even once the celebrations in the ballroom long came to a close, I didn't leave the table. I watched guest after guest saw me respect by excusing themselves for the night. Before excusing themselves for the night. The room grew empty and quiet. Once I finally got up from the table, I approached the stained glass window and absent-mindedly just stared at the night sky through the mosaic of colors. I was deaf to my servants' words of concern. At one point, even got an approach to tell me something. Another one of those awkward motivational talks. And mine wasn't in that one either. It was already past midnight, but I still wasn't that eager to go to bed, not after sleeping through a chunk of the afternoon. No, it was more than that. Remember how I told you that I used to go to bed excited for what the next day would bring? That wasn't the case anymore after a while. I already knew it would be good. I dreaded another joyful morning, another step on a perfect predestined path. And even though I knew I couldn't fight it anymore, I still couldn't help but want to be left alone at least for that one night, just me, my pain, and my tome of new moon stories. You know, it felt that ever since a meeting with the observer, that whole thing made me go through nearly the whole complex cycle of grieving. I was in at first disbelief. I fought against the inevitable. At moments, I even found the person raised inside me that night. However, I was at my very weakest and lowest. After a while, for a brief moment that day, I almost believed I could be free, only to be humbled by reality. I was so reluctant to retire to my room for the night because it felt like the moment I ended my day right there, right where I was expected to be, in safety and warmth. I would finally reach my true acceptance. The castle was quiet. It was only me and the great empty halls and a couple guards by the entrance. Their minds were sleepy, and although they avoided eyeing me, they clearly awaited my return. I myself was getting tired too. Time and again, I almost went to them to request an escort back to my room, but I ended up changing my mind each time. The weak part of me longed to finally be put at rest. However, another side resisted. I was split in my mind and heart, exactly like that one delusional Rottweiler hero, except I didn't have anyone to put me back together. I paced around the room between the giant marble column, until eventually I glanced into the service preparation room. The moment I entered it, away from anyone's vision, I heard one of the heavy armored guards started to walk in my general direction. Even there, I couldn't be left alone. But that was also where the hidden passages for small breed servant dogs were. I slipped through it, delving deeper into the darkness as the guard's uncertain Your Majesty muffled through the stone. I went as deep as I could without actually reaching the other end, the hidden entrance to the kitchen's storage room. If the guard didn't know about the passage yet, he was sure to find it soon enough. Still, he wouldn't be able to fit through to pursue me himself. He would have to call another doctor to retrieve me. Then finally, I would be back. I would be back to my room for proper rest. But at least at that moment, I was still alone. It was dark and quiet. In that pure silence, away from the presence of any other canines, I could finally hear my own thoughts. With a tone of peregrination of new moon pressed firmly to my chest, I started to accept. But then a glow. Magical light from the storage room. Barely any sound, but there was definitely something there. Carefully, I peeked out of the passage. It was all dark again. As quietly as I could, I walked across the room, towards the door. Then another glow, coming from behind the fruit-filled cells. A gasp in surprise, and the light suddenly ceased with a brief hiss. I wanted to say, "Hello, is anybody there?" but my survival instinct made me think again. Yet still, where the instincts kept me at bay, curiosity recklessly pushed me to peek behind the cells. Pitch black darkness, silence, stillness, the faintest nose-numbing touch of smoke. A single red eye. Before my mind could even properly register danger, a strong impact made me slam against the boxes and bags, dropping the book off my hands. When the quiet threw something cold and soft pressed against the middle of my throat as someone's face drew close to mine. "How you die?" Only one single red eye, the other was The other one was covered with eye patch. The image of a feline skull was etched to the patch's dark leather surface. I was confused as to why I could barely make heads or tails of the person's presence. With my empathy, even his scent so numbed down by the was so numbed down by the faint smoke from his still lit cigarette. With a wave of shocking realization, the recollections of rumors I discussed with both Burry and Gunner came to the forefront of my mind. The missing food rations around the castle grounds and infestations of elusive immigrant thieves. That was it. I managed to do something that even Gunner struggled to achieve for months. I cornered a rat. Kind of. Wait, you. Are you? My heart had never beat that fast before, not even in any of the observer's visions. I wouldn't dare to even take a breath, with my eyes fixed on his shining dagger. Yet even then, faced with the possibility of an untimely death, I couldn't help but think how heckin' cool he was. Are you an adult, small dog, or just a puppy? I can never tell with you mutts. Hey, I'm not a puppy. Okay then. Say goodbye to your... And I'm not a dog. I'm a wolf. Okay, just to be clear, how old are you? I'll be turning 10 next year. He sighed and took his dagger away. I'm not going to hurt a 9-year-old child. Hey, I said I'm almost 10, and I'll let you know I'm very mature for my age. I'm sure you think that, speaking and dressing like a pompous bloody peacock and pepper pup or some lumpine snob, no doubt. So, what are you doing here? Pushing my luck too far, apparently. Now I'm definitely done here. I don't think we have enough food to leave past the borderlands, but we'll have to make do somehow. I can't take any more chances in the grove. Oh, you're leaving abroad? Yeah, so hurry up and lie down so I can find you. Someone will find you in the morning. But before that, could we maybe talk just a bit longer? I've never spoken to a woman before. Ha, sure. I guess I have something to tell you before I leave. Oh, what is it? Before I could react, he jumped on my chest and gagged my mouth with some musty rag. Keeping me firmly pressed against the cold floor, he reached for the next one to fasten around my head. I slapped and pushed against him, but despite being a rat, he was still older, heavier, and stronger than me. My shouts muffled through the gag in my mouth. No mingling with the dogs. No killing the dogs. No lingering in one place for too long. And no biting more than I can chew. If I didn't keep a low profile, we wouldn't survive even 2 days here. As much as I revile you dogs, you're terrifying hunters when you actually get serious. Canine unity, is it? Listen, pup. When you grow older and work your way up to becoming an important wolf in the grove, keep close to your heart the words of this old gray rat who could have killed you but chose not to. Killing for each other. It's not just a canine concept. I stopped struggling. As he held my wrist to bind him with a rope, we looked into each other's eyes. He was still stern, but there was a sort of warmth in his one remaining eye on his thin and weathered face. For the first time since we came face to face, I felt clearness in his mind that I could finally grasp. And connect to. I made a decision and, with all the magic I could muster, I committed my very soul to it. The red thread of Fenrir's leaves burned away and melted into our wrists. The moment he noticed the glow piercing through his skin, it was already too late. He jumped away and started swatting at it, but the more he did, the brighter it simmered. Suddenly, something pulled me forward. Whenever he tried to force his arm too far away from me, I was brought close to him. There was an ethereal thread of light connecting my wrist to his and 4 meters long. By the means of the magic string, I tethered myself to him. What the hell is this? What did he do? Suddenly we heard the muffled sounds of approaching and someone speaking through the stone. We looked in the direction of the secret passage in unison. I stood up and pulled the gag out of my mouth. The panicking rat tried in vain to cut the luminous string. We couldn't linger there any longer. I took a deep breath and gathered my courage to finally speak to the rat. I forced out my words to him, the words now manifesting as the unbreakable magic between us. I was to be kidnapped. Right away. How we make Wiles here. Congrats on reaching the end of this update. I'm finally the first fully illustrated non-canine in Zelda. To be happy with how he turned out. When I started working on Zelda, I was firstly after finishing a chapter of a comic in a world where little any kind of furry creature could and did exist as a character. Zelda is a complete opposite of that. The existing groups are very strict and limited, and the whole story is nearly exclusively focused on the dogs. There were a few reasons for that. The main one was because I wanted to draw a lot of knots. I'm having a hard time remembering the other reasons off the top of my head. Oh, why the other reason was that I believe structure forced by limitations allows for more solid world building and ironically highlights the diversity of a setting. My comment INU was a nice exploration of chaos to me in a world where everything exists everywhere at once. The setting becomes oppressingly same, like matching all colors of a plasticine always gets you greatest ground. We've been focusing on dogs and Zelda all this time to give them a clear identity in the world, but our scope is expanding and connections between factions are inevitable. I haven't drawn proper sprites for the 5 cats in Master Story yet. I would love to add them in the future, but I really wanted to do the rat. Not for the hardness or anything, just because I thought he was a super cool guy. I hope you're looking forward to see what happens to him as much as I do. However, could I please use the next update to fill up one of the missing content in the other routes? I'm still waiting for his bottoming scene, Max's intimate non-orgy sex scene with Luke, and the final dream scene. I think that's it. I'd like you guys to decide in the poll which one you want me to develop for the next update. That way I take it a little easier in the second half of December for Christmas and New Year time. And that will also give us more time to create new music piece for the finale of Alon's childhood recollections. There's a scene I want to make as impactful as it can be. I'm sure all the hard work's gonna be worth it. Special award to you, my goodness, patreon.com/wilesboards. I hope you have the best Christmas ever. Smallest but extremely dense, highly concentrated award to my closest friend and confident self for being the most inspiring and impressive person in my life. Happy anniversary. And finally, stupendously special boy of the artists who shared their shelter fan arts this past month. I can't get enough of them, and I'm certainly grateful to every one of you. That's why I started a giveaway page when finally opened an option of gifting memberships. So from now on, I'd love to give every person who's featured in the ending credits a month of free LVL1 Patreon access. It's offer especially relevant to the free members, but you still get a code even if you're already supporting me. You can just pass it to a friend if you like. I always sent one to Foxy King. Please drop me a DM when you can. And remember the fan art section and Celtics game gallery. Whoever gets chosen to have their pictures included there, this gets an extra month of LVL to membership. On top of that, check out the post here for all the rules. I hope you'll like it and it'll make things more exciting and rewarding. Plus, I'm just happy I finally have a way to give you a little more than just exposure. Thank you, everyone. I would like to add a new one for the next update. Post a picture on Twitter or Blue Sky with a hashtag SeltaVN or at me in the post. I check it regularly and like and comment on every picture. Okay, then let's take a breather and have a nice and relaxing next update. Next time on Celta report break. And after that, then the time after the next one on Celta, Night of Fate. Merry Christmas and happy final awards of 2024. 2025, I'm coming. Ooh. You hear that noise out there? Some kids with these motorbikes. Anyway, the next update is a porn update, so I do not care about that. So I do look forward to the update afterwards, where this story about Woon's childhood continues. So that will be the final update and conclude Alon's tragic Barkstory. So we got to see the good side of General Gunner. However, the bad side of him outweighs the good, and so I'm not going to let his good traits, I'm not gonna let his good side overshadow the bad side because he did a lot of bad too. I mean, he's a good person to those he cares about, and a horrible person to those he don't care about. So apparently that's this person who really runs the kingdom is a human who lives under the castle in the skies, hidden away from anybody. Only the general knew about him, and I guess now it looks like now Alon knows him too, and for him to be talking very openly to Alon to the point where he threatens with suing him. So you hear the more bikes. Anyway, so for him to be threatening Alon like that, even though he's a king, by threatening to sue him, it's that alone shows that he's the one who really runs things in the kingdom, not Alon the prince himself. He's just a puppet. And he didn't want to be a puppet. If he couldn't run the kingdom himself or be an actual king, then he didn't want to run it. So he fled the kingdom. Now, I don't know how what's going to happen with this rat here taking Alon. I don't know if they succeed or if they if somehow General Gunner takes him back. But again, I think either the rat is successful at getting Alon out of the kingdom, or the rat is unsuccessful. It may be years until Alon is able to escape once again. But I remember in one of the other routes where there's a white wolf that rules the kingdom, and I think that's a different white wolf. I can think who probably took Alon's place, I guess. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll have to look back and see. Anyway, so yeah, there's a human running the kingdom behind the saddles, and so Luke is not the only one, and apparently Burry and Max assumed that the evil person running the kingdom was Luke. Because apparently they think Luke was the only human left, so it had to be Luke, which is silly. I mean, they may not. It's kind of silly that they thought it was Luke who was the one behind the scenes, when there's a possibility that there are a few more other humans spread out in the world besides Luke, which there are. In this person who runs the kingdom, the observer, is confirmation that there are some other humans out there. There may not be many of them, but there are some out there. Again, the canines and the felines and the ungulates and the bulls and I guess a few others I'm missing. They're the main ones that control the world now. They're the majority. And humans are kind of like no longer in control of the world now. They're like a tiny minority. At least that's what I think. Anyway, um, yeah. So that's all I had to say for the updates. And before I leave, I covered everything here. See this message here. So I cover. So I did all the to-do lists and most of the mysterious figure stuff. But anyway, I did most of the to-do list. However, I lost all my saves that I had on since 2023, since I started playing the game on this laptop. So I kind of had to start all over again. But despite that, it still says I did everything in the to-do list. Yeah, I lost all my old sprites. And it's supposed to be like a different color here, like a different menu picture here, but it has the older one, so that must mean that I haven't done everything in the game. But see, all these are new to do because I have saves go all the way up to 9 before, but I accidentally lost all my saves, so I can't go back to get those saves. I gotta start over again. So I'm just gonna say right here. But anyway, that's all I have for now. So thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.